Let's continue. Where are we? So where did we stop? Where did we stop? Oh?
Chapter 4.
Okay, we are done with chapter 4, ba? But we are still on it. Okay, let's quickly run through that chapter 4. I think we are not done. So where did we stop in chapter 4? Where did we stop? Have we talked on a vertical communication system? Yeah.
Barriers to effective organization.
Where are we?
Barriers to effective organization.
Barriers to effective organization communication. Okay. We've talked of the diagonal communication system. Let's quickly look at that. Page 40. So, before then, have we talked of the upward and communication system? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So, horizontal communication system for people within the same level. Have we talked of that? Have we treated that?
Yes.
Okay. The types of informal communication system. The importance, characteristics of informal communication system. Characteristics of informal communication system.
We
Have
have talked
we
about where we
okay,
are now is barriers.
yes, we've said something about the differences between formal and informal. So when it comes to barrier to effective organizational communication, that is what are those things that could be a limiting factor to we transmitting our message within an organization. Are we together? Number one is language. Number one is what? Is language. Now, language happens to be the first barrier in communication. Now, let's take for instance, you happens to be which which ethnic group are you? Which language do you speak apart from English? Which language do you speak apart from English? Hello?
Steve.
What? I can't hear you.
Steve.
Okay, you speak CV. Okay. You are from the north, Ba? Or which side? Which part of the country?
Benue State. Not
Okay, you are from Benue. Okay. Now let's now take for instance, you don't understand English and I want to communicate to you. You know, it is it's between the two of us, English to me and then your own language will be what? Language will be what? Will be a barrier in between us. Yes or no? Language will actually be a barrier because for me to pass my message to you, it will be very what? It will be very difficult. For you to understand the kind of message I am sending to you, it will be a bit difficult. So now language has been what? One of the barrier to communication. Let's take for instance, you want to buy something from an Hausa man and the Hausa man cannot speak English fluently. You know, for you to pass your message to him, it will be what? It will be very, very difficult. Abi? So language is one of the what? One of the barriers to what? To communication. And then here we are looking at it like words means different things to different people. Now, the kind of words you send to me as a message. I can give, I can what? I can what? Interpret it in different what? In different ways. And then you are the only one that know the actual meaning to the message you sent that was sent by you that you sent. Are we together? Are we together? You are the only one that know the kind of message that was sent. So now language, what sometimes is what is is a different thing entirely. Now, to different people, age, education, cultural background are three of the variables that can influence what language a person uses and the definition it gives to the word. Like what I've said before, cultural background is part of the things to that will determine the kind of message you want to send. In an organization, employees come with employees come from diverse backgrounds, yes or no? And this can have an effect on the use of language and on the use and understanding of language. Even where all employees speak a common language like English, the interpretation can lead to a a language barrier. The English word family for for example, may be interpreted differently based on the individual's background. Are we together? Like United Kingdom or United States, family refers to one's immediate parents or one's wife and children. So while in Africa, Europe, Latin, whatever, marriage refers to one's immediate parents plus aunties, uncle, grandparents, and cousins. So one should also not forget that technical jargons can mean different things. Sender can intend to assume that the words and terms they choose mean the same thing to the receiver, which is not true. Now, as you can see that language has been has been uh, an issue in terms of in terms of communication. The way I will interpret a word, the way I will interpret uh, a message will be different from what another person, the kind of interpretation that another person will give to the word, to the to uh to the same message. Are we together? So language has been a barrier. Now let's move on. Then selective perception. the kind of perception, individual's perception also determine the kind of interpretation given to what. Are we together? So my own perception, the way I would look at things from my own angle would be different from how you will look at the word, the same message. That's why sometimes when there is a meeting, so individually, everybody will contribute his or her own this thing to what is on the to what is on ground. Are we together? So that's about interpretation of this thing. So the next thing we are looking at here is information overload. When there is information overload, it could be what? It could be a barrier when you have too much things to attend to at the same time. So and another person also send his own to you. So information overload can be what? Can be a barrier. Information overload is a condition by which information inflow exceeds an individual's what? Processing capacity. So the kind of information you receive is more than what you can actually what? Is more than your ability, capacity. So in such instance, for you to comprehend to such message, it will be what? It will be very, very difficult. Are we together? Then another thing is emotion. The emotion you attach to what? To message is also another another thing. Are we together? Emotion also determine the message, emotional attachment. So emotion refers to how a person feels at the time of the receipt of a piece of information. Now, how a person feels will influence how the information is being interpreted. Now, the person that is not emotionally balanced and you now send your message to the such or the person that is tired, the person has worked since morning, you now send the kind of information to the person. How do you want the person to take the message? I need your contribution. Someone who is tired, the person has worked, overworked, is now some minutes to you have some minutes to the closing period and you now send your you now ask the person to work to do a particular task. Will the person perform well? Hmm? Will the person perform well?
No.
No. So information overload is emotion is part of barrier to information. Noise is also part of it. Noise is also part of it when there's distraction all around. So it will limit your communication process. Noise is anything that distracts the attention of the sender or receiver from receiving the information. Physical, psychological, technical, or social noise is any form of noise that occurs in the communication process, which impairs the effective transmission and reception of communication. So anything that distracts that distorts the communication process is being seen as noise. Someone who is not paying, having a full attention when a message is being sent, that's a noise. So noise is one of the limitations to communication. This refers to filtering also. This refers to a situation where a sender purposely manipulates information so that it will be seen more favorably by the what? By the receiver. The person picks the information that is favorable to him. So you see in such instance, when an important information is also sent, the person can also pick the one that will what? That will be of benefit to him or her. So and that one is part of what? That one is part of the barriers to communication. It can limit our communication process. Let's assume the information you send, the person could not uh could not interpret and also give you what? Feedback. It means that message will be what? The message has not been delivered. So it is what? It is a barrier to communication. Then we also have cultural differences. Cultural differences, people from different ethnic groups or from different areas. So when information is being sent, it could be a barrier to communication. Lack of feedback, when you could not get feedback, it could lead to barrier in communication. Are we together? So how do we overcome barriers to communication? One is expanding the basis of communication to include feedback. You have to expand your communication base to what? Include feedback. Let's assume you are the type that will just send message without expecting what? Feedback. Or you are the person that receive what? A message without what? Giving back feedback. So you have to expand your what? Your basis of communication. Are we together? Another one is proper use of language. You have to use the right language when you are communicating. If you use a wrong language, the communication might be what? Might be distorted. It can limit your what? Your communication process. So in such instance, then communication for you to what? For you to achieve your aim, for your communication process to be effective, you have to you have to use the right language when you are communicating. You cannot tell me that you want to communicate to someone who only understands simple language. You now start using big grammar. So how do you want the person to interpret your information? The person will not give you a feedback, Abi. But when you use a simple language, then you can actually get what? Your feedback. Like how I'm taking a lecture now. Let's assume I start using the language, the those words you cannot understand. How do you want to? How do you want the communication process to be? The class will not be what? Will not be interesting. So communication, proper use of language is also very important. Improving listening skills. Improving what? Improving listening skills. You have to learn how to listen very well. You pay attention when a message is being sent so that you can actually understand the kind of message being sent. Are we together? So when you improve your listening skills, it will actually help in communication process. Are we together? So another thing is practicing empathy. Now, empathy is identification with another person's perspective. You have to look put yourself in your receiver's what? In your receiver's shoe when you want to what? When you want to send message. So practicing what? Empathy. Now, effective communication therefore requires that the listener understand exactly what others mean and the perspective from which they speak. So it is very, very good for the listener to be able to understand from the angle the sender is coming from so that he can interpret the question he can interpret the message very well. Are we together? Another thing is following the basic communication guidelines. When you follow what? The basic communication guidelines by eliminating ambiguity. It is important that sender make their communication as precise and straight to the point as possible so as to minimize the number of possible misinterpretations. So you must go straight to point when you are communicating, not that you will be beating around the bush. So when you go straight, the person will be able to interpret your message. Are we together? Using proper follow up. When you use proper follow up, you will actually follow up on the what on the message we sent for you to know if the kind of message your message is being delivered effectively. The timing of the message, you must understand the timing of your communication. You cannot send the message when someone is angry. So how do you want such message to deliver effectively? So timing of the message is also very, very important. So let's quickly run through the multiple choice question. Now, can we quickly read? Or will you do it and get back to me? It's not something you can just read through in order to save our time. Let's quickly move to interpersonal communication. I want us to finish this on time because we have lots on ground. Are we together? We have a target, and the target is to complete all our this thing. You know, your exam is approaching next week. Though the other week, let's assume first week in March, but we'll try our best to see how it goes. So next thing, we want to look at interpersonal communication. What are the interpersonal communication? That is the communication that takes place between you and another person, between a sender and a receiver, or between a sender and the audience. Now, interpersonal communication is in interpersonal communication is the term applied to verbal and non-verbal interaction in a one-to-one or a small group work setting. Now, people skills and soft skills are terms often used to describe someone's interpersonal ability. So communication deals with people skills, how you relate with people. Are we together? Now, interpersonal communication is a cornerstone in what social scientists refer to as communication climate and the quality of the personal relationship that exists within an organization. So what are the elements of communication, interpersonal communication we'll be looking at? The first one is listening. Listening. Now, when it comes to listening is often referred to as mental activity that a person goes through while await his or her turn to speak. That is a kind of mental activity whereby you you to go through while you wait till when you also speak. Listening is not the same as hearing. Listening involves comprehending and retaining what is being heard. Sometimes you can hear and not listen. It means maybe your mind is somewhere else. So that is you are not comprehending with the kind of message being sent. Are we together? And you can that time you may not retain any message at that point in time. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? Oh, hello.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what are the listening process we will be looking at? The first one is hearing. Hearing is the first element of listening process. It's a psychological process that is something that relates to psychology. When we hear, the auditory nerves are stimulated by sound waves. When we hear, we the our auditory nerves are being stimulated by what? By waves. Everyone hears sounds unless he or she has an has a hearing impairment. Everyone can actually hear sound, except let's assume the person has one or two issues with his or her ear. Now, filtering. Filtering is the eliminated of unwanted. Another listening process. Filtering is the elimination of unwanted stimuli. Filtering allow a listener to focus on stimuli that are what? That are of specific interest. An individual has difficulty concerning an oral message when his or her filtering process is unable to eliminate or at least minimize distressing what? Stimuli. Now, the ability of you picking from the message being sent is being seen as what? Filtering. Now, we also have recalling. Recalling is when you remember at a later what? At a later time. Recalling involves remembering at a later time the information that was interpreted earlier. Now, the success of this element depends heavily on the association, that is relationship period, on the stimuli during the interpretation phase. So when you are able to remember, okay, what has happened before, so that's recalling. Now, what are the guidelines to effective listening? Number one, to concentrate on the message. You are able to pay attention, 100% attention on the what? On the message being sent to you. Keeping concentration upon what is being said and avoiding distractions and mind waging, which result in black patches, will enhance effective what? Listening. When you are 100%, when you pay 100% attention, then you can effectively what? Listening. Now another thing is keeping an open mind. When you keep an open mind, you have an open mind, then it's also a kind of listening stuff. Avoid asking question. When you keep asking question, okay, why is it this? How come this? What is the importance of this? You keep asking questions, then it means you are what? You are listening. Are we together? You are what? Listening. Then listening, especially listening attentively for points and sections of personal importance and relevance. That's also part of what? Listening process. This is to ensure that actions and personal follow-up requests are fully and clearly understood before the speaker links off, departs, or a meeting is what? A meeting is closed. When you have a personal follow-up on what is being said, then there is what? Effective listening. Then providing irregular feedback indicates that the message is received and understood progressively. When you are able to provide feedback, it shows that you are what? You are listening very well. Then another thing is monitoring and controlling personal non-verbal signals. When you monitor and control non-verbal communication signals, such as those which provide the speaker with positive positive feedback, can help establish rapport and provide encouragement. So when you are able to establish a rapport, then it will actually encourage communication, effective listening. Then another thing is um ensuring the written or recorded notes are made clearly and insufficient details for future reference and follow-up work. When you make sure that you have a clear and enough details to what to the information you receive, then you have an effective listening. The next one is oral communication. Now before then, let me quickly talk on the importance of listening. Why do we listen? What is the importance of listening to us? Listening enhances good customer relationship. So when you listen, when you pay have a full attention, then it will enhance what? Good customer what? Relationship. Effective listening is vital to the development of good customer relationship. Effective listening is vital to the development of good customer relationship. This can improve quality, boost productivity, and also save time for the what? For the organization. Instead of wasting time, it will boost what? Productivity. When you pay, have a good listening, then it will boost what? Productivity. Poor listening can have the opposite what? Effect. So are we together? So do you have any question? Any question? Any question?
No question.
I hope everything I'm saying is very, very clear and you actually understand it. I hope
Clearly.
you understand it. Yeah, you
It's
said
clear.
something. Good. So let's quickly move down to oral communication. That one is relates to speaking, the production of sound. Now, like what I'm doing right now, I'm communicating orally. Are we together? Now, speaking, for that matter, oral communication is the chief means of conveying messages. Now, all forms of speeches, formal, one-on-one, or group discussions are forms of communication that are done by the words of mouth. When you make use of words of mouth in communication, then you are communicating orally. Are we together? Are we together? Now we are looking at checklist. The next thing is to look at checklist of effective speaking. What are those things we need to look at when we want to speak? In order to create a well-structured oral message, the speaker should: number one, first consider on the context of oral communication and the outcome desired. You should first consider the context, what you want to see, and the outcome desired. Another thing is you establish the key points to get across and what running order would best link them together at the beginning, middle, and the end. You look at are the key points to get across and what running order would best link them together at the beginning, middle, and end. Another one is advance the salience facts and figures which will support the argument. You look at those facts. You look at the facts and figures that will support the argument. Then the next one is decide on what the delivery style of the message before you embark on it. You look at how you want to deliver your message before you start your communication process. Are we together? Before you send your message, you have to consider what you have to decide on what the delivery style you want to use. Another thing is consider constant monitor the feedback received from your audience. You look at the kind of feedback you receive from your what audience when you are communicating. Are we together? Know when you have said enough and stop on a positive note. You should know when to stop when you are sending your message so that there won't be what information overload. Then important speech features to master. What are those things you need to look at when you want to speak? Number one, look at your accent. Accent of different people may be accepted, but it should be devoid of being coaxed by your local dialect words. So you have to consider your dialect when you are speaking. You have to make sure you are flow with your message. Are we together? So accent is very, very what? Is very, very important when you are communicating. Another thing is pronunciation. People will not like to hear speeches marred by ugly or resentful habits. So people will not when the kind of pronunciation you use when you are communicating is very, very what vital. Then enunciation or articulation. Good communication, especially over a poor telephone line or in a large hall, depends on vowels being well rounded and not swallowed. So your articulation when you are communicating is very, very what? Is very, very important. Intonation also, the kind of intonation or emphasis also depends on is also matters when you are communicating, when you want to make use of what? Oral communication. Then also projection. Projection is also what? Important. Effective speakers adopt erect stance and head positions which allowed for free and unrestricted escape of air from the lungs and mouth, which are essential to clear delivery. So your position when you are uh when you are sending a message is very, very when you are making use of oral communication is very, very what important. Are we together? So the next one is analysis of attitude. Many scholars have agreed that attitude may be defined as a group of beliefs that causes us to respond in some way to a particular object or situation. attitude, the kind of attitude is being being defined as a group of belief we have. A person's attitude can influence his or her decision in many ways as 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 it forms the basis for his or her behavior for taking what certain action. So your attitude can depend on your decision in so many ways. So and it will also help in the kind of decision you are making. Now, in delivering speeches, for example, one will need to consider one's attitude and the attitude of one's target audience to check whether they are what when they are whether there are similarities. So you have to look at your attitude with those people you are sending messages to. Are we together? When there are similar attitudes, the speech will be delivered and received in a peaceful atmosphere. So when you have a similar attitude, then there will be what? There will be effective communication. On the other hand, there are certain instances where there are differences in attitude between two parties, and in such circumstances, hostilities may emerge as a result of the what? Differences. Now, why do we have an attitude? What is the reason behind our attitude? Our attitude starts from the kind of knowledge we have, the kind of idea we have. Now, attitude provides a knowledge base and framework within which new information can be what? Can be replaced. The kind of information you have at hand, that's based on that will affect your attitude. Expressive. Attitude becomes a means of expression. Through attitude, you are able to express yourself. They enable individuals to indicate to others the value they hold and thus are able to express their self concept and adopt or internal intern, internalize the values of a group. So expression also help in terms of attitude is one of the reason we have attitude. Then instrumental attitude head will determine the manner one behaves towards a person or a object in a particular what in a particular way. Attitude will determine how you behave either in a positive way or negative way. Then also ego defensive when someone is having ego. So it will actually is based on attitude. Attitude may be had in order to protect a person's ego from undesirable truth. A person who believes in honesty will discourage any form of behavior that may result in cheating or dishonesty as in examination. So anyone who believes in saying the truth will what actually discourage any form of cheating or exam malpractice. Based on person's attitude, he has developed a strong ego that will resist all forms of dishonest practice. So that's based on attitude. Ego, a defensive word, ego. Now, why do we have attitude or change? Attitudes once are difficult to change. However, there are certain circumstances that may cause a person to change his or her attitude. What are those things? The characteristics of the persuader. let's assume the other party are able to what? To persuade. That is the one endeavoring to effect what? Change. Change is very what? Paramount. Then presentation of issues will also cause the person to change from positive to negative and from negative to what? To positive. Then audience characteristics also. Characteristics are also part of those things that will determine the what? Attitude change. How the audience relates when you are sending your what? Message. Depending on the expression of a speaker, attitude can change if the speaker wants the target audience to have a positive perception about him. So the person that has a negative attitude, bad attitude, can actually change because of how the person feels he or she wants the audience to what? To take him or her. Another one is outcome of attitude. The person may look at what will be the end result of his or her what? Attitude. So that one will also determine a change of what? Attitude. Then seeking more information. When you seek more information, it will actually help in what? It will actually lead to a change of what? Attitude. There is someone with bad attitude, and the person needs some information. The person will just be good for that moment. At that moment, in order to what? Achieve his or her what? His or her aim. Are we together? So the outcome. See, when you need a particular information, you can actually there can be what? There can be a change of what? Attitude. Showing interest in what prompts the creativity can help a person to decide how to fix whatever prompts it. One should do the following: ask for specific example. Can you show me where the errors are? Another one is describe a situation and ask whether illustrates the problem. Ask how you can improve by requesting for specific what? Suggestion. So that's about attitude. So now we'll look at body language. The other time we talked about verbal and non-verbal, and we said non-verbal is when you don't when you express your opinion without the use of what? The use of without the words of mouth. And verbal is when you express yourself with your what? With your voice, with the words of your mouth. Now, body language is part of non-verbal means of communication. Are we together? Now, body language, whether intentional or unintentional, can change the meaning of a verbal message. Are we together? Like what I've explained before, that sometimes you can send a message unintentionally. So because of your what? Because of your reaction, your body language. So body language, whether intentionally, can what? Change the meaning of a verbal message. Body language is universally used because it is impossible to communicate without body language. It's not possible for you to communicate without, even when you are using the words of mouth, you can see what? You can still show some sign. That's body language. Are we together? Are we together? The same person may be interpreted the same message, the same gesture may be interpreted differently in a different culture. Folded arms may signify defensiveness, defensiveness in certain cultures. At the same time, the gesture may mean arrogance in some other culture. When you fold your arms in some culture, they will see it as a way of what defending yourself. And in some language, in some culture rather, they can see it as what as an arrogant, as being arrogant. Are we together? Body language in interpersonal communication has the following advantage. Number one, it provides instant feedback. You are able to get your feedback immediately. Body language conveys instant feedback universally. It conveys what? Instant feedback universally. Then also, it communicates a non-verbal message without the use of your mouth. Your mouth, the words of your mouth, you are able to what? You are able to convey a meaning to someone. Handshakes communicate non-verbal messages. A person who firmly grips another person's hand demonstrates what? Confidence and what? Familiarity. When you shake someone's hand, it shows what? Familiarity and also confidence. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? So any question? Any question? Oh,
Question.
so let's quickly look at the next chapter, which is chapter 6. That's communication at the workplace. Now, the first thing we'll be looking at is the communication climate. Now, in business communication, the word communication climate is being used by social scientists to describe the quality of personal relationships in an organization. When it comes to communication climate, it is being seen as the quality of personal relationship within a workspace. Are we together? The term may also be seen in relation to the mood surrounding the organizational communication. So we also look at the mood surrounding organizational communication. The general respect, trust, goodwill, and the degree of acceptance of communication in the organization will reflect the mood or climate of organizational communication. Are we together? It will reflect the mood, the goodwill, and the degree of acceptance of communication within an organization. It should be noted that the climate of organizational communication depends not so much on the specific and direct duties and responsibility that members in the organization must perform, but also on their feelings about these duties and responsibilities. Now, conversation process. What are the conversation process within an organization? Positive relationships do not just happen; they must be built over time, and they require continuous maintenance. A good conversation is one of the techniques that are used to build and maintain positive relationships. Now, the first conversation process is written. Written opens the channel for for conversation. Now, when you greet, it will open channel of conversation. Let's assume you want to meet someone. You need to greet the person. Then the next thing, then your conversation that can then start. Are we together? You can start your conversation with what? Written. Then the next one is, now it can be verbal or non-verbal, like a smile or a wave. When you show a smile, that's non-verbal. But and then when you make use of the words of your mouth to greet, then it's also what? Is one of the conversation what? Conversation process. Once the greeting has occurred, the conversation then moves to the what? Introduction stage. After you've greeted a good morning, or you show a sign with your what? With your hand. So then the next thing is what? Is to introduce yourself. During this stage, the person initiating the conversation imagine what will follow. An introduction should be brief and as informative as possible. An introduction may be direct or indirect. Your introduction sometimes may be direct or indirect. Another thing is, after you've introduced yourself, the exchange, you start to have to you start your conversation, you begin to interact. Now the business of a conversation is conducted in a give or take manner. You give and the person also what? Take. There is what? Exchange. During this stage, the purpose of conversation will come to the fore. Then the next one is what? Review. You review on what has happened between you and the what? The person receiving. A review of the process allows the parties to reflect on the exchange, to recap on the items discussed during a long or complex exchange, and to signal that the conversation is what? Ending. Either the sender or the receiver may review the conversation with a view to determine its prospect. Now the last one is what? The last one is closing. That's the concluding aspect. Closing is the cordial concluding part of the process. Depending on the situation, the closing may be verbal, non-verbal, or combination of the two. That's about that. Then we have keys to successful face-to-face face-to-face conversation. What are the keys that will enhance our face-to-face what? Conversation? Number one, choice of location. The kind of location around the kind of location you are will determine how your face-to-face, your physical conversation will be. Are we together? Are we together?
Yes.
Are we together? So your choice of location where you are, let's assume you want to have a one-on-one listening with someone, your face-to-face conversation, you know, and it is what? In a noisy environment. You know, the conversation at that point in time will not be what? Will not be smooth. But when it is very quiet, then your communicate your there will be a successful what? Face-to-face communication, conversation between the two of you. Avoidance of interruption, avoidance of third party when you are communicating. Interruption say by a third party affect one's ability to hold a meaningful what? Communication, conversation. Therefore, all interruptions must be what? Must be avoided. So you have to avoid interruption, third parties what? Interruption. Effective speaking. Strong effective messages are short and simple. A strong effective messages are what? Very short and what? Simple. One should always think before speaking, and sentences should be structured very well for the receiver to what? To understand. You have to look at the kind of what you want to what? You want to send before sending it out. Quick speed and volume should be varied to hold this listeners' what interest. Important points should be emphasized. Emotions also should also be what controlled. Now the next one is clear and appropriate non-verbal cues. Clear and appropriate what non-verbal cues. Part of what is part of what can enhance your effective what face-to-face communication. A strong a strong word a strong smile may be appropriate in a situation whereby when a genuine smile may be appropriate in specific situation. When a genuine smile is often to someone, it demonstrates acceptance and what trust. When the person receiving the message give a smile, it means the person has accepted what the message being sent. People should speak freely when they feel safe and a smile conveys what safely. Then questions. Asking questions encourages the other party to what? To communicate. So when you ask questions, it will encourage the other party to what? Communicate effectively. Accommodating diversity. When you accommodate diversity in your communication process, it will actually help in your communication. To have a successful conversation, one should recognize and accommodate cultural and other differences during the what conversation. You be able to recognize and accommodate cultural and other what differences when you are conversing. Then effective listening from the sender, from the receiver rather, is also what paramount. It's also important when communicating. Are we together? Are we together? So those are the are we together? Are we together? Oh,
Yes.
good. Now those are the effective ways, effective key to what successful face-to-face conversation. Those are those things we need to look at when we want to have a physical conversation with someone. You have to think of your location. Make sure that the environment is not what noisy. You have to avoid interruption. You have to avoid third party what interruption. Then you also speak effectively. Effectively speaking is also what allowed. Clear and appropriate non-verbal cues. When you want to use a non-verbal cues, you use the appropriate one so as to make your communication process effective. Then another thing is clear and appropriate non okay, I've said that. Then questions. When you ask questions, so your communication will be what? Smooth. Then also accommodating what? Diversity. Accommodation of diversity in terms of cultural and other what? Other differences is also what? Is also a good thing. Then effective listening from the what? From the receiver. Those are the things we need to what? Consider when we want to have a successful face-to-face conversation. Then positive relationships. What are the positive relationships we need to consider? The existence of a positive relationship among communications in an organization has been accepted as one of the successful factors in effective organizational communication. It is therefore necessary for organizational communicators to make some effort at bringing positive relationships for successful organizational communication. When there is positive relationship between the workers, The organization will what? The organization will move forward. Positive relationships in organization will prevail if there is what? A favorable perception of individuals or parties who are involved in the communication situation within what? Within your organization. So positive for positive relationships in an organization, it means people are able to what? They have a good, a favorable perception among themselves. There is a favorable what? Perception. The next one is building, promoting and sustaining what? Positive relationship. Now, the first one, when you want to have a positive what? Positive relationships is when you are using I. I is also what? Paramount. Hmm? Focusing on solving problems. When you focus on how to solve a problem, the problem on ground, then you are you are having what? A good relationship. Then the next one is being honest. When you are being honest, honesty, when you are saying the truth, then without manipulation, then it will build a positive what? Relationship. Showing concern for others. When you show some concern for others, it will actually help in building what? In building relationships. Demonstrating an attitude of what? Equality. When you don't allow another person to feel inferior, then it will actually help. Listening with an open mind. When you have an open mind, when you are listening, it will really help. Now, the next one is accommodating diversity in communication. How do we accommodate diversity? When the person you are communicating with is from another culture. So how do we accommodate such in communication? The emergence of globalization and dynamics, dynamism that surrounds most organizations mean that organization needs a number of skills and knowledge to be able to compete effectively in their areas of business organizations. In such circumstances, organizations have no alternative but to rely on individuals who are in diverse in terms of culture, race, gender, age, education. So the organization should, however, note that communication and other business activities will be more prone to individual differences. So effective communication in the organization can take place only when efforts are made to accommodate organization communication activities. So what are those things we need to know? Number one, learn about different culture. When you have idea about other people's culture, there will be what? You are accommodating what? Diversity. Now it has been confirmed that many cultural problems are not caused by malice but by lack of what? Knowledge. When you don't learn about other culture. So it's not the problem we have in an organization is not about the cultural problem we have in an organization are not being caused by malice but lack of what? Knowledge. When you don't have knowledge about a particular ethnic ethnic group, then problem will arise. Viewing diversity as an opportunity. When you view diversity as an opportunity, it will actually what? You are actually accommodating what? Diversity in what? In communication. Your communication process will be effective. Not despising people when you don't when you are not despising people, eh, you are accommodating them. Talking about differences. When you talk about the difference between yourself and the other person, then there is what? The communication will be what? Effective. I hope you've learned one or two things from what we said today.
Yes.
So any question,
I don't have a question right now.
you don't have a question right now, and everything I've explained is understand. You actually understand everything I've explained.
Yes.
Okay? So we meet tomorrow. So next week, God should help us. Our class will be throughout from Monday to Thursday.
All right.
Okay. Let's let's say Monday to Wednesday because of Thursday. You always have economics. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So next week, Monday to Wednesday. And last week, we were not able to do much. Last week, we only met. How many times did we meet last week? I think we met on Monday. Yes or no? We couldn't have a class on Monday. We had class on Tuesday. Wednesday, the time frame is not that much. Then Thursday we couldn't. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? On Tuesday or Wednesday, whereby we have a short time frame. So no problem. So we'll look at other aspects next week as we move on. We don't have much, at least we can still rush all these aspects. The the communication ethics. How do we communicate within an organization? That is the rules and regulation of communication within an organization. So we'll look at that when we meet. Ma, okay, ma'am. Okay, ma. So we'll talk about that next week. Thank you. We'll talk about that next week.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Thanks for your time. So, and then I want to pass this information that this um second week in the second week, the second weekend in March, we'll be having a mock exam. So kindly prepare your mind towards that. So kindly prepare your mind. The questions will be sent to you. You have to use 3 hours to answer those questions, to see how it goes. It's just to prepare you and see how you've prepared for your coming exam. It's not I want to really, no, it's just to prepare your mind. Okay, see how you you are ready for your exam. So no wala. Thank you for joining. Enjoy your weekend and see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.